Woman who owned ice cream parlor revealed as brutal multiple murderer. It all started with a bunch of pipes bursting in an ice cream parlor. But the repairman who went in to clean up the mess got a shock when they got there, because they uncovered a horrifying secret in the ice cream store. Ice cream shops are popular all around the world. Who can say no to a delicious bowl of creamy goodness or a cone of some rich, refreshing ice cream scoops? But not everyone was screaming for joy in one Austrian parlor. Ice cream parlors are a great venue to release stress and enjoy the tastier side of life. But although ice cream parlors can make even the oldest grown-up feel like a kid again, it doesn't mean the parlor itself is such an innocent place. Next time you visit an ice cream shop, watch out. Behind the friendly smile of the attendant and the cleanliness of the counter, you might discover they're hiding a dark and insidious secret that could put your life at risk. Worst of all, even the people we think we've known our whole lives might be nothing but monsters in disguise. Ice cream can give you chills. But when an Austrian ice cream parlor burst a couple of pipes, the repairmen hired to replace the pipes were in for a shocking treat when they uncovered a horrific secret. No one was shocked when the pipes in the ice cream parlor, Schleckeria, burst. The original owners opened the ice cream parlor in downtown Vienna, Austria 50 years ago. Over time, it became ran down. The shop eventually came under the ownership of Estebaliz Carranza, a Mexican-born Spanish national. But the parlor was in a state of disarray. It badly needed to be repaired, but there was a reason why Carranza didn't seem interested in that. Carranza knew the repairs would have to get done, but she waited until it was too late. When the pipes burst, she had no choice but to call the repairman to come into the shop, which hadn't seen improvements in years. This time she would have to allow someone to take a look down in the basement. The repairman had to dig in the basement to get to the damaged pipes, but then the shovels hit something they hadn't expected. That's when they realized something fishy had happened down there. It turned out that the Carranza had cut up the bodies of two men, stored their dismembered bodies in ice cream tubs, and filled the area up with concrete. And she would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling repairmen who had unearthed her dirty little secret. But the reasons why she'd committed the crimes was beyond horrific. The repairmen unearthed the disembodied remains of what appeared to be two people. Shocked by the chilling discovery, they decided to call the police right away. And Carranza went into panic mode immediately. She knew it was coming, so she acted fast. Carranza booked a flight to Paris. She planned to fly to Mexico from there. But at the airport, she learned the cops were looking for her using her passport. So she hired a cab to drive her to Italy. Carranza was the prime suspect, so eventually, the police extradited her to Austria. But once they had her in custody, they learned another surprising truth. And it was one that was the kind of news she'd been longing for. Carranza was 3 months pregnant, and she seemed to be pretty open to talking to the police about the corpses found in her basement. She wasn't even trying to hide the fact that she'd killed both men. In her twisted mind, Carranza had her own reasoning behind the horrible acts. Carranza not only admitted she had disposed of the bodies, she even identified the remains of her ex-husband and her ex-boyfriend. She also told the cops that she knew the repairman would uncover the truth, so she was expecting everything to blow up. They dubbed her the ice cream killer. The media immediately hooked onto the story and gave Carranza a couple of fitting nicknames: the ice cream killer and the ice lady, because she owned an ice cream parlor and had a pretty cold demeanor to boot. Plus, also she murdered two men in cold blood. Carranza told cops that Holger Holtz, her lazy slob of an ex-husband, was abusive and also involved in a cult. She said he had refused to move out of the apartment above the ice cream parlor. So, from her perspective, ending his life was her only option. And she had a plan too. Carranza's ex-husband was using his computer at 3 p.m. when she crept up from behind him and shot him in the back. Holtz never even saw it coming. But she hit a snag when it came time to dispose of the body, as she received a phone call that put a damper on her plan. She couldn't get rid of the body because an ice cream shop employee had suddenly called her on her phone to let her know about an issue with a customer downstairs. So she waited until nightfall to cut Holtz's body up with a chainsaw. Carranza writes in her memoir, "I can say to anybody who has seen a horror film that the reality of cutting up a body with a chainsaw is far worse." She went on to describe how she dealt with the smell later on. "I put the pieces into the freezer, but despite that, the smell would not go away. I tried so many different perfume sprays, but nothing worked. It was ever present." She muted the sounds on her chainsaw with a running ice cream machine. Once the job was done, it was time to clean up the mess. She cleaned for days. Eventually, she called professional cleaners to finish the job. But the job of disposing the body was tough on her nails, so Carranza got herself a manicure to restore her nails to their natural luster. But eventually, she ran into some new troubles. She started having issues with her new boyfriend, Manfred Hinterberger. Offing her ex-husband wasn't premeditated, but murdering Hinterberger was. She took shooting and concrete mixing classes. Then she offed Hinterberger after fighting with him over his supposed infidelity. I found pornographic pictures of other women, including one text message from a woman asking him when she was going to see him again. Carranza wrote in her memoir, "As Hinterberger slept, Carranza shot him. The next morning, she cut him up and disposed of him in the basement the same way she disposed of her ex-husband." Petra Fry, the prosecuting attorney, claimed that Carranza masked her dark nature using fake innocence, insisting there was a highly dangerous woman lurking beneath, just ready to strike. The ice cream killer cried as she confessed to the judge. "All I can say is that I'm sorry I took the lives of Holger and Manfred." But the judge sentenced her to life in a mental hospital anyway. While in the hospital, Carranza wrote a tell-all book. She admits that she now understands the consequences of her actions after becoming a mom. She wrote, "Becoming a mother myself has only really brought home to me what I did. I have a son born in jail, and knowing how much he means to me has shown me how much I took away from two other mothers." After her book was published, Carranza was deemed too dangerous and was moved to an all-male psychiatric prison in Austria. But at least ice cream parlor patrons in Austria can once again enjoy ice cream in peace, never having to wonder what's lurking in the basement.